From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. And Nick Barris here with you on this Thursday. And we've got a good show on tap. You're invited to, as always, join in the conversation. That's what this show's all about, is interaction. You can call in. We'll get the number up in a moment. We've got a two-tiered show. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Professor John Weil, who's political science professor at MTSU, and we'll touch bases with him and get some of his take and reviewing for us what happened just within the past 24 hours in Washington, D.C. with the president's second impeachment, where things go from here, and significantly what that means, or is it simply symbolic, and in the big picture, how does it play out? We'll get into that, and if you have questions along those lines. Before that, though, now we're going to talk a little bit about the COVID vaccine, the trials, which do continue, and there are trials happening right now on more vaccines at Meharry and other places. And we're going to be talking with a doctor over at Meharry who's going to update us on the very latest of what's happening there and where we go from here with the vaccine, whether or not you've received one or not, and then whether or not you can trust it. Those types of things we can hit yet again with our guest. Dr. Rashbir Singh is with us. Good morning, doctor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us this morning. I know how busy you are. Tell us a little bit right now. I mean, we hear about the vaccines that are already up and running and being given to folks, but there are still trials happening, right? And there is a trial continuing right now at Meharry. Tell us about that vaccine and how long do you think before something like that could be added to the ones already out there to start giving to people?
So right now we are doing Novavax vaccine trial. It started last month.
Okay.
We are very early into the trial, and the idea is to enroll 30,000 participants nationwide, and they have enrolled already 7,000 plus. The recent information. These trials are, like you mentioned, that there are already 2 approved vaccines, emergency use authorization for Moderna and Pfizer, and so they got the authorization after midway when they saw that the results are promising, right?
Right.
They're showing efficacy of 90+%. So when we will enroll enough number of participants, like 30,000 on this, and the data will be analyzed by the independent authorities, data safety monitoring boards and others. And if they'll say that the participants who have gotten the vaccine versus participants who have gotten the placebo,
right,
how did they fare? Does the infections and the disease more common or they find people who got placebo, they are with more infections and they are with more disease as compared to participants who got vaccine, and then they'll compare it. Independent board will decide that yes, this vaccine is efficacious, safe, and the trial should continue. And then when the data will be very good and very sound, and FDA will review that data, and in the same way like Moderna and Pfizer got the emergency use authorization, this vaccine may get that too.
Is it your belief too, with the vaccines we see from now, whether the one you're doing with this trial to find out and the others now that are up and running, is there any doubt in your mind that they are safe?
They are safe. The data has shown, very good results. They are very safe. The very occasional side effects are with participants, the allergic reaction which you may have heard, anaphylaxis kind of reaction. They are very rare, and most of those reactions are with participants who had previous history of allergy, or they were allergic to other compounds. And that is usual when you test the vaccines in a large group of participants, hundreds of thousands of participants, and you expect those reactions to happen. But the majority of the participants are having very mild symptoms, and they are coming up with second dose also. Like first dose, they are not getting that much symptom. These kind of reactions who are allergic to something, they get the symptoms even with the first dose.
Let me ask you this. Do you believe that someone who had COVID and has recovered will have the same protection against maybe getting exposed again as an individual that gets the vaccine?
So what has been the data? Data so far has shown that the participants who have recovered, they have gotten infected again. So it varies from person to person how long the antibodies are lasting, right? The antibodies in the people who recovered from COVID-19, the immune response is not very strong. But the vaccines provide stronger immunity as compared to the participants who are recovered from the COVID-19.
Interesting.
So that is why these vaccines are recommended to the participants who got infected and recovered. They may have antibody, but they're not strong enough to protect them from the reinfection.
Okay.
Or getting the disease again. Vaccines provide stronger immunity. That's why there is a recommendation that they should get the vaccines.
Okay, I'm glad you kind of clarified that. I had heard as much because I know of individuals who have had it and now think they're immune to it, and they're not still practicing any precautions, and they're running around like they have nothing to worry about. And I have seen cases now of those who had it that have gotten it again, and it's exactly what you said. So again, the important point for them as well is, even though you've had it, you probably should still go and get a vaccine to make sure you have the protection you need.
Yes, I would like to emphasize on the importance of protections. That even if you get the vaccine, doesn't mean that you will get the immune response and immunity right away. It takes 2 dosages, and after a few days of getting 2 dosages, the body starts to make enough antibodies to give you the protection. But it doesn't mean that you will not get infected again or you cannot develop the disease. There is a chance, but it will be milder. That's why you give the vaccine. But it doesn't. People should still practice safety measures. Wash their hands and wear the mask and social distancing until the herd immunity, which is you may have heard the word, 60 to 90% of the population have the immunity. So that's a long way from now.
All right, let's take a few phone calls here, and we've got Joe. Joe, good morning. What's your question, Joe?
Well, I'd like to know when, I'm over 75 and got health problems, and I've called and been on the computer and everything and can't find out anything about getting it. One day I called and the lady said they was going to give 4 at the health department.
Yeah.
And they haven't made a very good effort of getting it out to people that can't go to the health department. I'm on the waiting list, but there's no information. It's a big mess. About where you can get it, when you can get it, and if you can get it. And so I know some people has got it that's not supposed to get it.
Yeah.
So I want to know where you can go get it.
Okay, and doctor, I don't want to go too far afield because I know we're talking about the vaccine trial at Meharry, but maybe you can speak to that. For individuals like Joe who are older and maybe can't even go to a health department, or they're having trouble getting information, what do you recommend or suggest? What have you heard? Can the vaccine go to them? How does that work in different instances?
I think the vaccine rollout which has happened, the way they were expecting that they will be able to provide vaccine to first frontline workers, doctors, nurses, and who are actively taking care of the patients who are with the disease, and hospital staff, other staff who are also involved. And then patients who are with comorbidity, older population who are at risk and will develop the severe disease. I think Unfortunately, the rollout has not been where everybody was expecting. There is shortage of vaccine dosages. Hopefully, it will, they will ramp up and more dosages will be available. I would suggest that keep wherever you are taking care, whoever is your provider. Just keep in touch with them, where hospital or provider, and then get the latest information when your turn is, and they should be able to schedule you for the dosages.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate that. And I just recommend to Joe, just stick with it. Don't give up, obviously. Stay tuned, because we've been doing stories, Doctor, just about every day on our news, talking about where to go, how to go. And Joe's right, though. It is a far from perfect system, and it's disappointing that it can't be handled in a better manner. But I guess this is an unprecedented situation. Look, we'll take a break. When we come back, more with the doctor about the vaccine situation and more of your questions right after this. Stay with us.